This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
Yeah, Gary was just giving me some macro aggressions because we just recorded a PSA where basically I was telling people how they could report the hate crimes anonymously. Although I don't think I used the word anonymous because I have such issues with the idea of of accusations and them being anonymous. And I may have actually referred to this as a snitch line, but that's Gary, was that correct?
Yeah, Mark strongly subscribes to the Snitches Get Stitches school of thought. So it was, Mark, at least you didn't draw it out. It's not like that's been pending for 8 or 9 weeks now. But nonetheless, it's behind us, and I will hopefully not be calling.
I want to take issue with the Snitches Get Stitches. I just think you should be able to confront your accusers. How about that?
Fair enough. Said another way, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I think we should say first and foremost, Happy Mother's Day to all in our audience and to those in our more closer orbit. AK and Alice and Miss Garrigus and Tenny and Joya and all those that are close to us. Happy Mother's Day, and we hope that you're all being celebrated and pampered today.
Yeah, there was a lot of mothers in the orbit, I'll tell you. They all are spectacular. And so happy Mother's Day to you, to one and all the thousands of people who watch this and support us. Thank you also as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. After our last episode, Mark, I saw a few people on social media who basically accused you of republicanism, which was definitely making me laugh. I thought that was quite humorous.
What in the, I find that if you just try to be consistent, then you're labeled. And I was watching an interesting interview, Joe Rogan with God Saad, who God is, I consider a friend, and he invoked a study that I was fascinated by. I've read about it before, but he brought it up again about a controlled study where somebody came into a room and labeled people with red dots and blue dots and then left and said, we'll be right back. And then watch the reaction of the red dots and the blue dots once they left the room and the dynamic and the kind of tribalism or whatever else. And this is an age-old sociological, cultural anthropology type. Maybe it was cast in the social sciences as well, political science, but it makes me, I thought of that before I had seen God Saad, because your comment just then was exactly what people say. And I think I'm pretty upfront about this, if I'm calling what I see in the criminal justice system and looking at it through the eyes or the prism of somebody who spent their entire adult career doing this, which is now over 40 years, I don't know why it then has to resort to, well, you should be a Republican as opposed to a Democrat. I don't subscribe to that.
No, nor do I. And the reason that it made me laugh is because I know you so well. And I know you to be an intellectually honest person who will say things that might not go along with the tribe that you belong to, because you're being honest. And I don't know how anyone who was watching the clips we watched last week from MSNBC can really take issue with that or say that that should be some sort of a huge shift in your political standing, because it's just an intellectually honest take on a spin that someone is trying to put as hard as they can. And it's just not honest. So it's, to say that you are disagreeing with an intellectually dishonest take from a media person, and that thus you should shift your party allegiance. That's just not the case. It's just that someone, I assume that is someone who is in that camp who wants another person to join.
Well, I've talked in the past about Alan Dershowitz and how he's been kind of drummed out of the tribe for taking these positions and basically defending Trump, actually defending Trump as a lawyer. Never done that. I'm just trying to comment on some of these prosecutions, as you know, Gary, from all of the Georgia shenanigans. state of Georgia.
Correct.
And Nathan Wade. I was clearly from the get-go said that this was going to be a major issue. And I believe within the last week or 2 weeks, the Court of Appeals there has now taken up the issue. And for all of the people on my political side of the aisle who were poo-pooing this and saying it was a sideshow and blah, 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 it isn't a sideshow. A prosecutor, if you are going to be honest about what their job is, you've heard this a million times, is held to a higher standard. It is not the same role as a defense lawyer. A defense lawyer's role is zealous advocacy. A prosecutor is not there to zealously advocate as first and foremost, but to seek truth and lawful convictions, and you exercise their discretion. And if you are involved in a relationship at the same time that this person is making money outside of their normal practice and prosecuting somebody, that's an issue. It's a ripe issue. It's a great issue, and it should have been. And I will predict that the Court of Appeals is going to take that up, because they're not going to just affirm the trial court. They're going to either add or subtract to it. If they had just said, okay, well enough alone, they could have just denied taking it. But they want to get involved. They're going to, just like we had predicted on the federal side with the D.C. Circuit, just like all of the nattering nabobs and chattering classes had said, Trump's not going to get anywhere with the idea of the gag order, and he's not going to get anywhere with the immunities. If you are looking at these cases, and these are criminal and civil cases all, and you're not looking at it through a legal lens, then you're not really getting good information out there, because there are legitimate issues that are being raised, and the caricature that you may hear is not really informing you. It may be great as a bumper sticker. Remember that? I'm aging myself, what bumper stickers are.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe as a hashtag, it might be great. Kind of your tribal mantra, but it is not. It does not substitute for legal analysis, and that's what you're getting. And speaking of legal analysis, this past week also saw Stormy Daniels take the stand in the Trump criminal trial, and we're seeing, as we sit here doing this on the altar of Bard on Mother's Day Sunday, tomorrow the word has it that Michael Cohen is going to testify. So by the time some of you watch this, they'll already be moving on to Michael Cohen. But one of the interesting things about Stormy Daniels, and I was thinking about it as it was being reported on, is how much her testimony had morphed by the time she got into the courtroom.
Yeah. And
that is, put Stormy Daniels aside, put this trial aside. It's one of the things that's most aggravating as a defense lawyer when you see, in fact, the last trial I did in Arkansas that we talked about, I kept asking the question to various witnesses, how much time did you spend with the municipal league lawyers, or how much time did you spend with the prosecution here? Because for something that takes place over 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, less than an hour, why is it that you need an exponentially amount of time preparing to testify about something that you've already talked about and had a fresh recollection? To me, that's less.
Sure. 22 hours of interviews and, coaching on testifying over a 3-minute event seems excessive, I would say, and is
not only excessive, a cynic might say you're being programmed.
Yeah. Coached, programmed, reprogrammed, I guess, to put it another way. It's certainly.
And then lo and behold, this morning I watched a couple of minutes of a Bill Maher episode, and lo and behold, look what we found, Gary.
Yep, absolutely. I watched it on Friday as well. Let's check it out. Oh, here we go. Sorry.
Let me show you a little video. This is when I had Stormy on in 2018, and first I asked her why she had sex with Trump. Listen to that, and then listen to what she says after that, and then we're going to talk about the trial, because it's quite at variance of what she said to me in 2018. Why did you fuck Donald Trump?
I have no idea.
Okay. But you say it's not a Me Too case.
It is not a Me Too case. I mean, I wasn't assaulted. I wasn't attacked or raped or coerced or blackmailed. They tried to shove me in the Me Too box to further their own agenda. And first of all, I didn't want any part of that because it's not the truth, and I'm not a victim in that regard.
That's not what she's saying now. She's talking about he was bigger and blocking the way. It's all the Me Too buzzwords. She said there was a power imbalance of power, for sure. My hands were shaking so hard. She said she blacked out. Blacked out? She's a porn star. I don't think sex...
That doesn't mean she's been subjected to the likes of Donald Trump. I might black out too.
Do you really think she blacked out? I mean, a porn star is used to having sex with people she does not know. That's the job. It's kind of like Stormy Bob Stormy. Fuck. Action, and let's go, and we're losing the light. So I just think she's not a good witness.
So there's a couple of good lines.
Bravo to Bill Maher, by the way, on pulling that back. Yeah, I mean, the line, I applaud him for both finding the funny and keeping the comedy in his show, but also for bringing up the game tape. I mean, that is, in fact, what she said. Yes, there were edits so that it all flowed together well for this particular segment, but that's what she said. And that's definitely not what's being reported that was said in court. And there were, from my reading of the reporting, there was quite a bit of graphic detail that was solicited in her testimony.
And I've done this before, and I don't know if they did it. I wasn't in the courtroom, but that would be very effective to have had that clip after she talks about her power imbalance and talk about the evolution of her story and the latest version that you have. So I don't know if they did it or if they didn't do it, but that is a very effective. One of the reasons that people video record depositions so that you can play excerpts during your cross-examination. That was a very powerful, and I'm using that pun because when I heard it be reported that there was a power imbalance, those are buzzwords. It's an interesting reporting that was going on this past week because people were talking about Susan Nicholas, who I had met. I don't know her well, but by reputation, she's an outstanding trial lawyer. And Susan and I, one of her erstwhile partners I know and worked on closely on a case and think the world of. And I will tell you that once again, as I'm talking about this case as a kind of a lesson in kind of reporting and especially in a criminal case, it's remarkable to see if you turn on Fox and you look at how they report on this case and her testifying, or if you're on X and you see how they're reporting, or the right is, then if you turn on MSNBC or CNN and see how they're reporting on it, and both ends are through a prism where they don't give you the actual information. Like, wouldn't you like to know whether or not there were clips of her that were played? Wouldn't you like to know? And I've seen a couple, to their credit, who've showed the transcript, but as always, they show the transcript and then take it out of context.
Sure, they show the sections of the transcript that, ascribe the lean that they're trying to put. Yeah, it's one of the biggest disappointments that this trial isn't on TV, because not only would it be great entertainment and very interesting to follow along with, but when it is just the transcripts, then even that gets taken very easily out of context.
Yeah, and by the way, the fact that it's not on that it's not televised, and like I said, you've heard me say this before. Some of my biggest regrets about certain cases have been I went along with the prosecution not to have something televised. I think sometimes in cases like this that resonate, although I've heard people also say that this case is not resonating. It's kind of on a Gwyneth Paltrow ski level. It's not on a wall-to-wall OJ level, if you will, or something else. I don't know. I don't know that I have it's above my pay grade, but I will tell you that it certainly would. You would love to hear. I would love to hear reporting that is more factual, transcript based, and not ideologically spun. Because if this case ends in anything other than a conviction, and I've already publicly said I don't see any chance of an acquittal, only because of the jury that was selected. But I do see on the bell curve a possibility of a hung, not the least of which, because you've got a couple of lawyers on the jury. People may get the wrong idea about that because they are getting fed a diet of reporting that is not accurate as to what happens in a courtroom.
Well, yeah. And, depending on how many Bill Maher viewers there were on that jury, that's probably not going to bode well for anyone. Also, I mean, I think a hung jury or I agree with you. I don't see a conviction being the outcome of this case.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to comment again, this idea of the gag order. We have talked about gag orders before, and I'll tell you again. Gary, do you have? I think I had sent it to you not recently, but maybe a week ago. The order from the judge. I think I sent it, and it was last Monday. You have to see what the imposition of the contempt and the fines and the threats of jail, the statements that they're actually based on, because you would not believe it if you hadn't read the judge's order. And I have real problems with this idea, and I've made the legal argument before in many different venues. The idea of gag orders were originally to protect the defendant. They were not to gag the defendant. The whole idea of Shepard versus Maxwell in the U.S. Supreme Court was that the defendant's rights were denied because of publicity. It was not. It has become perverse over the last 70 years, or perverted into this idea that it's somehow to protect the prosecution and against the defendant. And I think that at some point the U.S. Supreme Court is going to get it. It may in fact be this case, but somebody has got to recalibrate what the perversion of gag orders that has happened in America over the last 70 years, and most specifically over the last 20.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the gag order here. I'm not having much luck, but I did see it as well. One of the other headlines, we talked about all of the perversion of people, using their clickbait and trying to get everything. One of the things that's been the most popular has been this idea that the Secret Service is preparing for Trump to spend, some time in jail. What do you think the likelihood of that is?
I've said it before, most judges, if not 99%, in a state court felony proceeding, if you are convicted of a felony in state court, I don't care what jurisdiction you're in, overwhelmingly, and I don't want to say always, but almost always, a judge will remand you immediately upon the verdict. So if Trump is convicted, the overwhelming odds are that he gets remanded upon the verdict. And that, I think, got a lot of opinions on that. But I will tell you that if there is, once again, if you're laying odds as to whether he would do that, clearly that is normally what would happen. However, I say that in the context of this is not a normal prosecution, period. And I know I get a lot of blowback for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not having any luck here finding this, and bravo to everyone who I'm sure is in the comments saying my eyes look crazy as I try to search through all of our text messages and find the order here.
The comment which was damning you with faint praise, and I don't know who it was who said something like, Gary's got a wonderful family, but his eyes or something. You don't read the comments. I'll send it to you. I think that guy.
Please do.
I think that guy deserves some swag.
Oh, good. Yeah. Be sure to find that comment and send it to me. I'll share it with my family at Mother's Day dinner tonight.
Gary, thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Mark, and happy Mother's Day to once again to everyone in the audience and to all of those in your family as well. We look forward to seeing you next week, and specifically a happy Mother's Day to Laura Lee, my mom. I left her out at the top. It wasn't because I'm not thinking of her, but I was just trying to think of people in the reasonable doubt orbit, and she is certainly one of them. So happy Mother's Day, Mom, and Mark, we'll see you next week. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast.